Well, Niels, it's really nice to be back here in the Netherlands and seeing you again in person. It's been a while. So you're a partner here at KPMG in the Netherlands, and you serve a number of large corporate multinationals. Tell me, what are people working on or thinking about these days?
Yeah, thanks, Roddy, and good to see you again, of course. We have a practice group in the Netherlands called the Corporate Clients Group. We basically look after the blue chip, the listed companies here in the Netherlands, and a number of the larger companies with foreign ownership that are active here. I think we see some common themes in that group of peers, if you will. A lot of focus on compliance, clearly, looking after the position when the dust is settling in BEPS. Let's be honest, a lot of the dust is settling at the moment. Pillar 2, clearly big focus area in terms of data requirements, getting ready, making sure that you're not coming across surprises. I think that's a big chunk of the current attention items. Unfortunately, a lot of controversy all over the place. Great many companies are dealing with audits in an increasing fashion, and unfortunately also a bit more litigation here and there. That's a pity because especially in the Netherlands, we used to work a lot with horizontal monitoring, which is still a good concept that works in the Netherlands, but not every country is embracing that in a similar fashion. And unfortunately, in the Netherlands, we also see a bit of litigation here and there. That was not the case in the past.
So controversy meaning governments need to raise more tax revenues?
Yeah, there's more work to do. Absolutely.
So you mentioned Pillar 2, and let me just come back to that. You mentioned how you're working with various companies to assess that. What is it that people are doing? I hear from some folk that they're doing like limited impact analysis.
Yeah.
They'll pick one or two big countries to focus on.
Yeah.
Some are doing the whole data analysis. Where do you see people at?
A mix, indeed. That is true. It depends a bit on the company. I think it depends a bit on the profile of the international tax structure, whether you need to go into at length or whether you can focus on a number of jurisdictions where you may run into a top-up tax or a domestic tax. I think by and large, the Netherlands community of businesses is limitedly impacted by Pillar 2. Clearly, we're in a European jurisdiction, so we have CFC, we have certain standards in our domestic and European tax legislation. So I think most companies, by and large, are relatively comfortable with their assessment at the moment. But like I said, I mean, the data points are challenging. The accounting knowledge is clearly challenging. Some relief, of course, as a result of the safe harbors. A lot of people are hoping for that to stay beyond the 3 years. Hopefully, that's sort of the end game. We'll have to see about that.
That's really interesting. Now, switching gears, I hear congratulations with Order, and you are currently the president of the Dutch Order of Tax Advisors. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing in that role and what you're seeing.
Yep, thanks, Ronnie. Yeah, it's an honor to represent roughly 6,000 tax lawyers in the Netherlands from different firms, large firms, smaller firms, even independent advisors, so to speak. We're representing the profession as a whole, so I'm chairing the board and presiding over the association. Quite some common themes there. We look after the profession as a whole, and one of the common themes at the moment is to look after the good governance in tax. We have a project that is just more or less completed around the tax governance code, and the association in the Netherlands has basically rolled out what we call the tax principles, which means that every single member, being a tax advisor, should adhere to certain principles when they advise a client. And that's a very interesting concept.
So like, what are some of those?
Yeah, and some of those principles, I mean, you have to act with integrity, you have to be independent, right? You have to have knowledge and experience to be able to deal with an advisory request. New in that area is that we also take into account what is the society view on tax planning? And how do you communicate that back to your clients? And not every client is the same. A big corporate knows his stakeholders, right? Perhaps a smaller business that is doing business just domestically has a different stakeholder environment. I guess there's a burden of effort, if you will, on every tax advisor to at least relate to that point. And to also sometimes think about what is the best possible advice I can give to a client. It's quite interesting and challenging, but also good in these days.
Well, I can imagine that's got to be a fun role, and I can only imagine you've got advisors advising very large, sophisticated entities.
Yeah.
Others in different segments of the market. So it's got to be really fun to try and navigate absolutely at one time.
Absolutely, and how to sort of create a minimum standard. There was a lot of challenges to create that minimum standard applying to everybody in the profession. At the same time, we see large businesses, they have adopted tax governance code as well. So the large business community has done something similar. They're trying to be more transparent, endorsing, for example, public C/C, even ahead of the EU regulation. So what you see in the Netherlands is that the entire tax community is stepping up a bit, and I think is showing best practices, if you will.
Well, that sounds like a really important word, Niels, and it's a nice place to finish this discussion on with just, again, congratulating you on a really impressive honor to be president of that group. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so, buddy. Thanks.